Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm calling the meeting of the Human Services Committee to order. A physical quorum of the members is physically present. I will entertain a motion to permit those members not physically present due to personal illness, disability, employment purposes, or for business of the board or family or other emergency to participate by video or teleconference. Do I have a motion? All in favor, say aye. Okay, thank you. Welcome, Member Dessart. And I will have Kay, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Chair Swarzy.
Here.
Vice Chair Garcia. Member Cahill. Member Dessart.
Here.
Member Galassi.
Here.
Member LaPlante. We do have quorum.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comment?
We have no public comment.
Okay. My comment is thank you to everyone for being here, especially those members who don't sit on this committee. And at the end of today's meeting, we are going to give a presentation on a food insecurity strategy. So you were handed folders that have information on them from Joan Olson. So we'll hit that up at the end of the meeting. So thank you. Do any of our committee members have any comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our agenda. I'll take a motion to approve item 260832, our Human Services Committee regular meeting minutes from Tuesday, February 17th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, moved by Member LaPlante, second by Member Galassi. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Take a motion on FIR 5026, acceptance and appropriation of additional funding for the IACAA Employment Barrier Reduction Pilot Program for program year 26 in the amount of $17,250, increasing funding from $40,000 to $57,500. Moved by Member Garcia, second by Member Galassi. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. I will take a motion on HSP 1726, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Nova Staff Healthcare Services, Inc. to provide supplemental nursing staffing services for the DuPage Care Center for the period April 13, 26 through April 12, 27 for a total contract amount not to exceed $600,000. Okay, moved by Member Garcia, second by Member Galassi. Any discussion here? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Take a motion on HSP 1826, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to RCM Technologies, Inc. to provide supplemental nursing staffing services for the DuPage Care Center for the period April 13, 26 through April 12, 27 for a total contract amount not to exceed $115,000. Who moved it? I missed it. Member LaPlante, thank you. Second by Member Galassi. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Take a motion on HSP 1926, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Bright Star Care of Central DuPage to provide supplemental nursing staffing for the DuPage Care Center for the period April 13, 26 through April 12, 27 for a total contract amount not to exceed $175,000. Moved by Member Garcia, second by Member Galassi. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Take a motion on FIR 4826, acceptance of an extension of time for the DuPage Care Center Foundation Music Therapy Grant for program year 25 to extend the grant through February 28, 26. So we had a move Member LaPlante motion and Member Galassi second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Take a motion on FIR 4926, acceptance and appropriation of the DuPage Care Center ILD CEO Equipment Replacement Grant for program year 25 in the amount of $200,000. Moved by Member Garcia, second by Member Galassi. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. I will take a motion on item 260833, weatherization assessor to attend the National Home Performance Conference and Trade Show in Columbus, Ohio from April 12, 26 through April 16, 26. Expenses to include registration, transportation, lodging, and per diems for approximate total of $3,167. Moved by Member Garcia, second by Member LaPlante. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Take a motion on 260834, weatherization assessor to attend the National Home Performance Conference and Trade Show in Columbus, Ohio, from April 12, 26 through April 16, 26. Expenses to include registration, transportation, lodging, and per diems for approximate total amount of $3,162. I'm sorry, did we get a second? Okay, thank you. Member Garcia, seconded by Member LaPlante. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. On to consent items. I will take a motion to combine consent items 9A through 9H. Moved by Member Galassi, second by Member Garcia. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. I'll take a motion on 260835, Healthy Air Heating and Air Inc. This purchase order is decreasing in the amount of $123,359.11 and closing due to purchase order expiring. 260836, Healthy Air Heating and Air Inc. This purchase order is decreasing in the amount of $70,308.81 and closing due to purchase order expiring. 260837, Nortech Environmental Inc. This purchase order is decreasing in the amount of $198,384.89 and closing due to purchase order expiring. 260838, Nortech Environmental Inc. This purchase order is decreasing in the amount of $175,942.81 and closing due to purchase order expiring. 260839, Rush Heating and Cooling Inc. This purchase order is decreasing in the amount of $212,359.42 and closing due to purchase order expiring. 260840, Parliament Builders Inc. This purchase order is decreasing in the amount of $201,198.22 and closing due to purchase order expiring. 260841, My Greenhouse HVAC LLC. This purchase order is decreasing the amount of $181,085.49 and closing due to purchase order expiring. And item 260842, Cimbria Rehab. This purchase order is decreasing the amount of $270,726.20 and closing due to purchase order expiring. Moved by Member Garcia, second by Member Galassi. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Take a motion to receive and place on file informational item FMP 626, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Builders Chicago Corporation for preventative maintenance and repair services for automatic and manual doors with threshold closers for facilities management for the period April 10, 26 through April 9, 28, for total contract amount not to exceed $133,966 per renewal of bid 24032 FM, first and final option to renew. And 30,000 of that is earmarked for the care center. Member Garcia and Galassi, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, thank you. Janelle is online, I believe, I hope.
It's Anita today for Janelle.
We don't have any residency waivers, but we'll take a DuPage Care Center update, please.
Okay, the reason Janelle's not there today at the meeting is because she's currently undergoing the facility survey for the nursing survey for the opening up of 2 North and 2 South.
Oh, great, great.
So if you remember, we had the architectural survey approval and we were waiting for the nursing survey.
Thank you for that update.
Yeah, and the only other thing I have is we don't have any units under quarantine or isolation. We are out of outbreak, and that's all I have, unless anyone has questions.
Okay. Does any of our committee members or any other members in the audience in our board have any questions? Member Garcia?
Yeah, Anita,
Yes.
did they give you any time frame on when you would get the approval back from the nurses?
It should be fairly immediate.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we'll just, we may wait for a letter, but she should be able to tell us whether she's going, she or he, whether they're going to pass us or not.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions for Anita? Okay, thank you, Anita. And we'll ask Mary Keating to come up and give us our community services update. And welcome back.
Thank you. I actually don't have much of an update. I just want to thank my administrators, as well as the folks from the communications office and finance who put together all the information for the presentation later today, and the administrators who kept everything running while I was gone for 3 weeks, so that's my only update. And I only had 1,184 emails to get through yesterday.
Yeah. Any questions before we walk away, Mary? Any questions for Mary Keating with community services related issues? Okay, thank you very much, Mary. Do we have any old business? Seeing none, do we have any new old business? New business? Member Glassy.
I just wanted to welcome the Hinsdale Central students that are here today. There's obviously quite a large crowd. Some are here to shadow myself, some are here to shadow Member Evans, but we're very thrilled that you're here and hope you're enjoying your day today. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Member Glassy, and I meant to welcome them before the meeting started and I forgot. So sorry about that, everybody. But thank you for being here. Any other new business? Okay, I'm going to ask Mary Keating to come up to the podium. She and I are going to do a sort of a tag team presentation on a food insecurity strategy that we worked with many people at the county here to put together, and we're going to present it to the Human Services Committee today, and we'll also present it next week at our county board meeting. So. Okay, thank you, everybody, especially those non-committee members for being here as we make this presentation. So you were handed a folder today. In your folder, you're going to see a handful of papers. One is a single page listing the $12.5 million the county has invested into food security in one manner or another. It includes food and capital. You will also have some paperwork on a breakdown on how that money was dispersed, meaning which program was the money dispersed through. And, some of that includes CARES, ARPA, our general food programs, our infrastructure, food insecurity infrastructure program, DuPage Community Transformational Partnership, small human service grants, member initiative grants. So it includes everything. And I thanks to finance for working and putting that together, and our public information staff too. You'll also have some information on a Conservation Foundation Farm to Pantry initiative, and you'll have info on the Loaves and Fishes 2.0 project. So, and DuPage County, so getting into the PowerPoint, DuPage County is consistently named one of the healthiest counties in the state and nation. There's a reason for that. Part of keeping our residents healthy is maintaining their access to fresh, nutritious food. As we know, too many families are food insecure, meaning they do not always have access to the appropriate amount of nutritious food. So now we're on this PowerPoint here. So to address the issue from 2020 through 2025, DuPage County has expended $12.5 million on providing food and infrastructure capital grants to DuPage food pantries. In the handout you've been provided, you can see the grants, including those handed out through the CARES Act, the American Rescue Act Plan, the Small Grant Program, and the Member Initiative Program, just to name some. We provided all pantries with the opportunity to purchase food, vans, freezers, or other items that improve their individual capacity. Dozens of pantries, including some of the smallest, benefited from those programs. And on the one sheet, I think that Evan put together along with our finance, it shows all the different entities that receive money. And you can go through them all. Obviously, the biggest receiver was our Northern Illinois Food Bank, which received over $5 million over the last 5 years. But again, they used that money to distribute out to our food pantries. So even though they got the money, the food went to all the pantries that are listed, and then even more. So you can see other entities such as People's Resource Center in one form or another received $712,000. HCS Family Services received $233,000, and you can go through the list there. So thank you to our staff for putting that together. On to slide 3. Looking ahead, what are the goals of our food program? So as you know, we've been talking about this really for the last few months. We spoke with pantries, we spoke with community stakeholders. We've heard from board members, and we have evaluated what we have already done as a county. We challenged ourselves to create a 2-year plan that improves people's access to fresh, healthy food that gets to pantries and clients in a timely manner, ensuring the food they receive is in the best condition as possible. The initiatives I'll outline now, myself and Mary Keating will outline now, come from funds that are already allocated by the board for this purpose. There's no additional asking for funds from the county. On to the next slide, please. So I'm going to talk a little bit about loaves and fishes. You guys have been hearing this, so this is nothing new. So as you may recall, Chair Conroy proposed as part of her 2026 budget, and the board provided consensus to move forward with an investment of $2.5 million to the Loaves and Fishes Hub 2.0 infrastructure investment, which will expand roughly 30,000 square feet of food storage and capacity available to all pantries in DuPage County. Loaves and Fishes will work to distribute to all parts of the county to assist us in our goal, ensuring pantries receive healthy, fresh food in a timely manner. I'm going to turn it over to Mary to continue here.
Thank you, Greg. You can go to the next slide, please. So we want to be sure that infrastructure improvements are impact all corners of the county. And so we're proposing an additional infrastructure investment through what we're calling the DuPage Food Pantry Challenge Grant Program. That we propose this would run for 2026 and 2027, and this is how it would work. So we're proposing the board utilize $2 million from funds already set aside for food, as we invite DuPage food pantries with capacity to help us meet the goal of transforming to get food to people in the most efficient and effective manner possible. Therefore, the county would provide challenge grants large enough to be transformational for significant portion of the pantries or persons served. The challenge grant program will incentivize pantries to collaborate among government, nonprofit, and private philanthropic partners as they propose projects intended to create lasting change. The county will provide the initial commitment of funding that would then be leveraged for additional community, state, or private dollars or federal dollars that will complete these crucial community initiatives. Next slide, please. The program will target large capital requests that meet the following criteria. The projects need to produce demonstrable improvement to food assistance infrastructure impacting either multiple pantries or multiple organizations. It will be a minimum request of $500,000 with the request not exceeding 50% of the total project cost. So what we're looking for is an opportunity to give pantries an opportunity to have some seed money to then be able to use and go out and raise a capital campaign is basically a matching for large transformational projects. The applicants would be because we would have this open for 2026 and 2027. It would give applicants the opportunity to do some strategic planning, develop their partnerships, and get the additional funds committed by the end of 2027. The project wouldn't have to be complete at the end of 2027, but they would have to have all funding secured by the end of 2027. If it turned out that $2 million was not spoken for, and if the challenge grants only issue maybe $1.5 million or 1.7 million, whatever, any additional funds that we have not obligated by the end of 2027 would roll into future projects. So we're doing it this way because we really recognize that projects of this significance really require development of partnerships, development of relationships, and development of strategic initiatives. And so we're announcing this to pantries so they will have plenty of time to kind of develop those partnerships over the next 20 months or whatever that would be. Next slide, please. Now, we also know that the fresh produce program that we've been doing through the Northern Illinois Food Bank has been very, very well received by all of the pantries. So we are recommending continuing that program for another 2 years at $1 million a year. Again, as Member Schwarzy mentioned, all of the produce that we've been distributing through NIFB has been distributed to all of the food pantries in DuPage County, and has been very well received by both the pantries and the clients that they serve. Next slide, please. We're also interested in continuing to support the Conservation Foundation's Farm to Pantry program. So last year we heard that the U.S. Department of Agriculture was cutting some programs that supported farm to pantry programs throughout the United States. As a way to help replace some of that supply, the county has formed a partnership with the Conservation Foundation Farm to Pantry program, and we're proposing continuing supporting that program for the delivery of additional fresh produce to pantries over the next 2 years. The Conservation Foundation provided a proposal to the county, and our 2-year initiative includes a total expenditure of $322,000 for food and capital costs, $172,000 for operational costs, $90,000 for a refrigerated van, and $60,000 for greenhouse expansion. We heard great feedback from pantries who received this locally grown produce, and we want to help the Conservation Foundation as they expand the reach of the program, assisting more pantries and helping the county meet current and future needs. Next slide, please. So the spreadsheet that you were provided that shows all of the funding that we've already distributed and have committed to food shows that we still have $8.7 million available. So our proposals today are for $2 million. Well, that 8.7 million is made up of 2 million from the 2026 budget and ARPA transfers, 2.5 million from 2025 surplus, 1 million from 2025 surplus, and 3.2 million from 2025 surplus to the sustainability fund. So all of these funds have already been set aside for food. Next slide. And if you look at the programs that we're proposing today, the Loaves and Fishes Hub at 2.5 million, the challenge grants at 2 million, the NIFB produce program at 2 million, and the Conservation Foundation Farm to Pantry program at 322,000. The total we're proposing today for the full program is 6,822,000. Next slide, please. So that from the 8.7 million, we still have a remaining $1.9 million that would be available for other future initiatives or for projects past 2027. Last slide.
That's it. So
Yep.
Open to questions. Oh, Chair Conroy would like to speak.
So first, I just want to say I'm very appreciative of the board's consensus on the loaves and fishes during my budget. As you know, it's one of my priorities, and I believe I'd like it to be our priority to transform the way that we deliver to folks who have food insecurity. So I would also like to thank those of you who pushed back and had issues with it. Because of that, the new grant program was born because of that, to make sure that we're offering funds to those throughout the entire county that are willing to help with the transformation. As you know, many of our food pantries are open 1 day a week, 2 hours a day. We need to improve that in order to deliver food insecurity. So that's incredibly important to us. The other thing I want you to realize or to recognize is that we will put $2.5 million into this. Part of the reason is because we have money. We can help people. We have a responsibility to put it in the right place and do the right thing. That $2.5 million will gain us $12 million in investment in DuPage County for food through Loaves and Fishes. They currently spend $12 million a year on DuPage County for food. With a $2.5 million investment, we will now get $24 million worth of food delivered into DuPage County. So thank you for those who pushed back. Because of that, we have this amazing grant program so that we can provide funds throughout all of your districts to try to improve and transform the way that we deliver to folks who are suffering from food insecurity. So thank you for giving me a minute. I have a meeting.
Just remember, we are going to be giving this presentation next Tuesday as well, but Member Krajewski.
I just wanted to let the HHS members talk, but just, I haven't had a chance to push back yet, but, I was just more figuring out how the consensus came about. Cause I know I got a letter about, from Loaves and Fishes that kind of said, hey, I thank you for, approving the 2 million. I'm like, well, I don't remember doing that. And I saw your slide saying consensus. I've talked to a number of board members and I just heard the chair talk about, was it in your budget? I mean, I don't remember the consensus. I know we want to put money into food insecurity. I don't remember doing a consensus to say we're giving 2 million to Loaves and Fishes. So I think that's part of where some of the confusion a lot of board members are is they're not sure where that came from. And I think I just heard the chair say something about it was in her budget. Was that a special set aside? I don't know where the consensus came about. And maybe you can help clear that up.
I recall having this conversation on the board floor when she was giving her budget presentation. And I do recall her asking, is there consensus? And
I mean, I think
recall there was
members in this.
I don't remember the exact date, but it was probably.
I mean, Lynn, Carrie, Lucy, Grant. And I've talked to other board members. They just in the last 2 minutes here, they don't remember the consensus. That's I think the big issue is a number of board members don't know where the consensus came from.
So my understanding is there are some people who don't recall having this conversation. I do recall having this conversation. I'll leave it at that. Member LaPlante.
Okay, there we go.
So there's a difference though between consensus and voting, correct?
Correct.
So why are we telling people that we've given them or that they've received $2.5 million on the basis of a consensus rather than a vote?
I don't know exactly conversations that people have had with Loaves and Fishes directly.
Well, no, this is we received mail. I mean, it's in writing. These aren't just like off the cuff conversations. We've gotten a letter. Yeah.
So during the chair's budget address, she mentioned the Loaves and Fishes 2.0, Hub 2.0. That was part of her budget. That was also a discussion as part of the surplus. I will tell you, this board has not officially voted on it. There will be an agreement that comes before this board in the future between the DuPage County and Loaves and Fishes. Everything until that happens, it's not official. You guys have the final vote. And what a letter coming in, I mean, that is the final vote. But I will tell you, it has been brought before this board several times and discussed several times. And Chair Swarzy is correct. There was a consensus, but the final version is the agreement that will be brought before this board probably within the next month or two after these discussions. There'll be discussions today, next week, and then maybe a month or two, and there'll probably be an agreement if there's still consensus moving forward.
Okay, but my point still stands is that we have to make sure that there's always a delineation between a consensus, which is just a show of hands, and an actual vote. And so when we know that we've had financial issues in this county and on this county board because we're not following due procedures. So I want to just be clear that whenever we're talking about a large sum of money, like $2.5 million, that there is a vote and before a consensus. That's all I'm saying. And I would just like that part addressed very specifically and to make sure that we don't do this going forward.
But realize though, a consensus gives direction because there's a lot of effort that goes into negotiating contracts. A consensus is what is the general feelings of the board? Clearly the board has final decision for a vote. That's where the final thing, and it still has to come to board, but a consensus gives us direction as staff of, okay, do we negotiate this? And so you are correct, but a consensus is a very useful tool to move things forward, but the final vote is all that matters on this board.
Thank you, Member Glassy.
Thank you. On this, I have a lot of comments, but I just want to speak specifically right now about this topic. Nick, while you're there, I guess my question is twofold. I recall giving consensus on the general outline of the surplus. I don't recall going line by line and giving consensus on the 2.5. Did we? Because a lot of us don't recall that.
There was consensus on Hub 2.0, but once again, consensus is not a final vote. There will be a formal agreement, assuming everything moves forward, a formal agreement that comes before this board for you to vote on yes or no. That is the formal agreement. No money is guaranteed until that vote happens.
Okay. I just would like to go back and watch that Do you know what that date was?
We can track it down.
Okay,
We'll
so that's my first comment. And my second comment, I know the last time we had the surplus discussion, I specifically asked, and I know member Krajewski specifically asked, like if we finally ultimately decided to put a bunch of money into the sustainability, and I asked a specific question, what happens from here? Like, is consensus binding? And you said absolutely not. Once we
No.
put in this sustainability fund, we can all decide along the way. So
That's what you're doing. You're going to vote on agreements moving forward. You guys have simply parked money.
okay, I
and
just
you
feel
as a
like
board-
what was the messaging that was given at that meeting, I was very clear about it because I was a little concerned about how we were. I know, like, member Cahill wanted to put it in reserves. There was talk about, a tax rebate, things like that. And I approved that, gave consensus on putting in the sustainability fund with the understanding that there was going to be many further discussions. And then when we got the letter from Northern Illinois Food Bank saying, thank you for committing $2.5 million, it seems, or sorry, what did I say?
Northern Illinois.
Oh, sorry, loaves and fishes. That's where a lot of the frustration is coming from, is it
Understood.
pertains to that. So I have other comments, but I'll pause now.
Thank you, member Lassie. I think member you was up next. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I do remember having this conversation in the consensus vote. I'm pretty sure it was in November. Don't quote me, but I believe it was the very first county board meeting in November. And in that meeting, we talked not only about the 2.5, but also the 4 million for Elmhurst Quarry and also the Community Sustainability Initiative Fund. And then later on, when we talked about the surplus, then we talked more about the Community Sustainability Initiative Fund. And I think also the 2.5 hub for loaves and fishes, that conversation came up again. So yes, I remember personally having more than one conversation and more than one consensus vote. And again, I agree, consensus vote does not mean a full board vote, but usually it's very unusual that if we do have a consensus vote that we suddenly vote it down later. So two questions. The first one is that it says total food insecurity funding of 21.3 million, and the budget surplus is 8. Mary, can you just remind me, the Community Sustainability Initiative Fund, I know that some of this number, it was specifically for food insecurity. I just want to make sure that there is still money remaining in the Community Sustainability Initiative Fund for other things other than food insecurity. Yes?
Sorry.
Questions are what's in affordable housing and what's in community sustainability, right?
Yes.
So the existing balance in the affordable housing was $5 million. The chair recommended $5 million from the surplus this year. That's $10 million in that category. And then the community sustainability funds, the chair recommended out of surplus $2.5 million, leaving $2.5 million. So the two together, are my numbers right on that?
But I think your numbers are right, but as we had discussion, we talked about putting more into that community sustainability,
Right.
like another $2 million, I believe.
Well, then the 3 point.
So
2 point.
the board.
Does that look? right?
Yeah, the board split, if you remember correctly, at the last surplus, the board split between community sustainability and the IT infrastructure. Or just infrastructure, and
Right.
you split it, and you as a board then have to decide how to put that. That's where you park money. You split it in two, and I think that was, you added an additional 3.243 million in addition to that 2.5 million to each of those categories.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that there was additional funds still remaining in it. That seems to be the case. Yeah. Okay. So then
And it's on the bottom of page 6. Is that what you're looking at?
bottom of page 6.
Yes. You see sustainability fund, you see the 2.5 that she recommended, and then you see 3.243 that Nick just mentioned.
Right. But I just wanted to see if there was money outside of the food infrastructure.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's-
that's what I wanted to know, because I know that we were talking about economic development, we were talking about other things. That's why. Okay, so then the other question that I had is, so we've talked about this challenge grant program, which is new, and how the request minimum has to be $500,000. Is it possible to get like an example of what kind of collaboration and what kind of challenge grant this would be useful for? Just because I'm thinking of our smaller food pantries in District 2, and I think sometimes it's hard to kind of have a big picture of what can I do with $500,000 or $1 million project and collaborate with multiple agencies. That requires a lot of coordination, and sometimes these food pantries don't know how to do that, right? So is there something that you can kind of give me some concrete example of what they could do?
Well, clearly the challenge grants are for organizations that have the capacity to take on something that will assist in the transformation of the overall infrastructure of food distribution. And so it's unlikely, to be honest, that a small food pantry is going to apply, for $1 million project, basically. So what we're probably looking at is one or more of the large pantries working out a system that would perhaps build out an additional storage space so that they can do collective purchasing on behalf of many small pantries. Maybe it's working out some sort of communications network, some sort of back office work that they could do together on accounting and ordering and volunteer coordination, all those kinds of things. So it's really, we're really looking for the larger organizations to look at their, as I said in the presentation, this will require strategic planning on their part. So, in the Loaves and Fishes example, they went through a strategic planning initiative. They came up with their idea and they basically have shopped it around to various funders. And so the county has committed to be one of those funders. I think we're providing something like the county has I'm sorry. I misspoke. I apologize. The county is discussing being a participant in that along with a number of other funders. So, we would be looking at perhaps 30% of that total cost of that project. So we're looking for other agencies to go through that same strategic planning process and come to us with big ideas. Here's what we could do if we had the capital.
Mm-hmm.
We could increase distribution. We could increase supports to smaller agencies.
Mm-hmm.
We could do better collective purchasing, those kinds of. So those are that's sort of what we're looking at.
Okay, thank you. And just so you know, Don,
I got Don to start next, but I just want to follow up. So back 2, 3, 4 years ago, and I think this was Member Krajewski's sort of initiative, is that, hey, we need more money for food, but we don't want to spend it all on food because once the money's gone, once the food's gone, you have nothing. And I believe Member Krajewski brought up, let's put some toward capital. Let's put some toward refrigerated truck, to last longer than, the 2 years that the $5 million is going to last. This is just that on a bigger scale. That's what this is. I mean, this is to increase food insecurity issues, not just in 2026, not just in 2027, whenever Loaves and Fishes, whether we give them money or not, whenever they get this 2.0 complete, it's going to last forever to be able to provide better, fresher food, sustainability, longer sustainability to help people in the long run. So, whereas we bought a refrigerated truck for Milton Township, which I'm very proud of, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of, $80,000 or something like that. Yeah, it costs $80,000, but how often they use it, in year 2, it's only $40,000. In year 10, it's only $8,000. In year 20, which hopefully it'll last that long, it was $4,000 a year to provide more food for people. This is what, this capital project, this grant project is a bigger version of what we were looking at 4 or 5 years ago. Member starts up next. Go ahead.
My name is real quick, Greg. It's all great, but why not just do an RFQ or an RFP like we normally do to the largest ones in DuPage County with the criteria? What are you going to do? Matching people you're going to feed in DuPage, residents that you're going to feed, and let the couple big ones come back with we got this money. Let them come back with the proposals, like an RFQ or an RFP that we do for multiple things, and then we can make a decision from there. And we can still have challenge grants and other things, but let the biggest ones come back and say, what would they be able to do? What would people resources do with 2.5 million? And how many people at DuPage are you going to service? Just my thought.
Well, that is the concept behind the challenge grants, is we would announce this grant opportunity and organizations would come back to us with their ideas. It's possible it would be oversubscribed, and we will.
Just for infrastructure, the thing that specifically Greg was talking about, not the
Yeah.
challenge grants for small things, but this is.
No. The challenge grant is for big things. That's why you got to ask for $500,000.
Okay, but
That's
we
the
got,
minimum.
the biggest thing is at the top of the list. It's at 2.5 million.
You know, I'm gonna with the concern that, you know, I don't want to shake a beehive. You know, I don't know. I'm having trouble figuring out if the frustration with some of the board members is due to potentially jumping the gun, or if it's a concern of actually using this money to do good things. And so you know, maybe I need a little more explanation on that, but let me go to Member Dessart, please. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Shorzy. So I do remember taking consensus on this back in November, but my concern is that in the spirit that a consensus is not a vote, it concerns me that we're already getting thank you letters from people when we have not voted on this before. That is the cart pulling the horse. And I'm confused about what conversations actually took place where people are already sending us thank you notes. It seems unconscionable that we would have promised something that this board hasn't voted on. That's number one. Number two, you know, I'm curious about what a large transformational project is going to help the smaller pantries. I mean, as Chair Conroy put it, you know, some of the smaller township pantries are only open for 2 hours a week. But how is this going to help them? How is it going to help them open more days or longer hours? Because, you know, the challenge grant, as you guys have said, is $500,000 minimum. And I see the only path for the $5,000 minimum would be for Loaves of Fishes, which has already said they're building a building. Greg, you and I were there together at Loaves of Fishes when they told us about it. And for maybe the Northern Illinois Food Bank. I don't see any other organizations in DuPage County that can come up with a $500,000 plan. I know Mary Keating mentioned a $90,000 truck for some of these smaller refrigerator truck for some of these smaller food pantries. But I mean, I think this challenge grant is premature. I'd like to see us help the smaller pantries. And I know that, you know, as I said, Loaves and Fishes has that idea for a new building, but why don't we just say then we want to give this money to Loaves and Fishes instead of, you know, messing around with a challenge grant that's a $500,000 minimum when we know we can read here that it's only for Loaves and Fishes or the Northern Illinois Food Bank. Anyway, so the main point is a consensus is not a vote, and I'd rather see us help the smaller pantries, and they're not going to be able to come up with $500,000 minimum. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Dessart. And I'll just reiterate what our Executive Director Keating said, in that this is designed for the larger pantries. And there are larger pantries, not just Loaves and Fishes, who would be able to do something like this. But with regards to the smaller pantries, having access to cold storage, to dry storage that they don't have right now will help those. And that's what the People's Resource, the Loaves and Fishes is putting together, is the availability to store more food, so they may be able to be open longer and they may be able to help more people. So indirectly or even directly, it's going to help those people. I'm going to Member Eckhoff. Thank you. I got you, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had a couple of comments, and I guess maybe I'm the person that started pushing back about some of this, but as you know, I have had concerns about this since September when I started emailing you and Mary, everybody else, saying every time I talk about food, instead of getting a plan, the answer I seem to get is more. And I don't understand exactly where we're going with all this. We as a group gave out almost $400,000 worth of food pantries through our member initiatives over the last year. And then we're talking about this 2.5 that was supposedly allocated, or a consensus was formed on back in what, September, October? And that was before I found out that 60% of the money, or 60% of the food with Loaves and Fishes, goes to Will County, Kane County, and Kendall County. And I don't know how they serve Kendall County, because I understood you had to have a hub in your county in order to go to another county. So I don't think the consensus that we gave back in October, November, which seemed to have only half the facts, is legitimate. The other thing is, Jim and I went down to Loaves and Fishes last week for at least 2 hours and spoke to everybody. And because I've been asking, why has the need for us to do something jump from, or the number of people participating in this program jump from 5 to 10% over the last 4 years, especially during COVID, which, as I figured, was the driving force in that. And Mike said, no, it was the interest rates that what jumped up during COVID to 9% that raised the rates of food and raised the rates of everything else while people's wages stayed the same. And I said, I understand that, and I understand maybe we need to deal with that and help people out more than we have been over for the next 2 or 3 years. But at some point, wages are going to start catching up with the rates. And my perception, or what I anticipate, is that's never going to go down. The need only goes up, it never goes down, even though I'm being told interest rates were the driving force in that. And then I asked them, is the 60% allotment to people in other counties, other than DuPage, other than where our money is coming from, is that going to change? He said no. And I said, have you asked Will and Kane for money? And he said they can't do it. And I'm like, when did we ask them? How do we know that they just said no because they know DuPage is going to step up and do it for themselves? The other thing that troubled me was that we can't verify income or residency of these people. So obviously, if 60% of the people are being served by Loaves and Fishes, and there's like 8 hubs in DuPage and the main facilities in DuPage and 4 in Will, they're crossing the border to come over and get some of this, because I can't believe their 6 hubs are the same as what we've got. So I suspect if we do the 2.0 when it goes up into northern DuPage County and District 1 and District 6, and maybe down in District 3, they're going to learn to cross the border to come and keep those percentages the same, which is what Mike said is going to happen. The percentages are going to be the same. And my sense is what's happening here is if you build it, they will come. The more we give, the more people cross the border to do that. And now on top of that, because we push back, we've created a new program. Am I getting this right?
Potentially,
for
yes.
the first time. That we created a 2.0 $2 million challenge grant on top of the 2.5 million, on top of the 400,000 we gave last year. Is that a new program that I just heard of for the first
time today? Yes.
And I'm like, where's it going to end? When is enough enough? How much more do we have to do? And it's not that I don't want to help people. I mean, Mary Ozag and I were the 2 of the top 3 people to contribute to food banks through our member initiative. And I want to help people that need help. But I just don't see an end to this. And we're spending DuPage County money to help other people when we're outside the county. And I don't feel like we've made an adequate effort to get Will and Kane, who may have financial problems themselves, but I suggested maybe we kick in 1.5 million. And then if Will kicks in 250, we'll match that and get us up to maybe 2. But some of these people need to have some skin in the game. And they just look at DuPage, you're going to build it and feed our people, and we can walk away and not have any responsibility. And that's where I've got the problem with this. I want to help people. I know your heart's in the right spot. I know Mary's is in the right spot, but I just don't see an end to it. And that's why I started writing both of you back in September to find out what the end is, and I still haven't seen it.
Thank you for your comments, Member Eckhoff. You know, a couple things. You know, with regards to you mentioned, you know, cost of living has risen, but you know, you talked about wages going up. Well, not everybody has a job, and many of the people that need food pantries, their wages aren't going up because they don't have, you know, they're either making minimum wage or whatever. I will also say this, that you know, regardless if 60% of Loaves and Fishes clientele comes from other counties, they still help hundreds of thousands of DuPage County residents. And they will continue to do so. And this 2.0 has the potential of increasing the amount of DuPage County residents. I don't care about Kane, but if I can help 250,000, you know, DuPage County residents get food who aren't getting it, that's a win. And so I brought this up, I think, a couple weeks ago, that, you know, 2.5 million is a lot of money. No doubt it's a lot of money, but it's a long-term investment. It's not a one-year investment. So if this $2.5 million helps, let's say it helps, you know, 125,000 extra people this year. You know, that's a cost per person that it's helping. So whatever that is, I don't have my calculator with me. Say it's $25 a person. You know, in year two, you're still helping that many more people. Now that's only, you know, $12 a person, $12.50 a person. And then year three, you know, it exponentially decreases on how much money this is helping people. So in 10 years, this building is going nowhere. In 10 years, you're talking $2 a person we're helping to feed people for a year. And so that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the long-term sustainability of this. The short term is a little frightening because it's a lot of money. And we feel like we're not helping, you know, we're helping, yes, we may be helping other county residents, but we're helping our own residents. I don't think we should turn our back on our own residents. And we are doing things to help the other pantries too. We're putting $2 million in strictly for food. And again, you can look at this list that is in your packet and see how much money that we've given to the, and we'll continue doing so with either food or other potential help. But I feel like we're getting caught in the muck here, and I think the big picture says a lot. And there's talk about maybe this project, this $2.5 million project, doesn't help everybody throughout the county. Well, it does have the potential to help more people than it's helping right now. Maybe it's not hitting parts of the county. But I look at I was talking to you about it earlier, Grant, the Willowbrook Corners. You know, we put sidewalks in Willowbrook Corners. That's not helping the residents that don't have sidewalks in Carroll Stream, but it's a good thing. It needs to be done because they need that. You know, maybe they need that more than other people do. I don't know, but you don't turn your back on people who need help because it's just because, you know, maybe it's helping people in Kane County or it's not helping everybody. But this new strategy that we're presenting today will help everybody in DuPage County. So thank you for letting me get on my soapbox for that. I think
additional comment, just to point out. So my understanding is the 2.0 project is an $8 million project. So the 2.5 that's under discussion would be just over 30%. So if 40% of the clients are from DuPage, we're actually helping at a lower proportion than what the benefit to the county is.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. Member Garcia, have you spoken yet?
I have not,
Okay,
but my question I was going to ask was exactly what Mary just said, because I think we need to be clear exactly that the $2.5 million that has been under discussion, quite honestly, factually, since the budget was presented in September, it's been presented many times since in the finance. So we've had this discussion, and that is why this program has come forth, because there was discussion on this. So yes, it was just a consensus, and I think the anger might be directed maybe towards Loaves and Fishes and their marketing team in terms of maybe getting the word out sooner than our vote came in. and that was probably wrong. And so I agree with that. That shouldn't have probably been done. I think that they was probably done because they are getting other money due to the fact that they think they are getting 2.5 from us. So it's been helping them financially. But I just wanted the point you made, Mary, is spot on. I mean, that's exactly, we're helping the 2.5 million, which was the amount of people we're basically helping in terms of DuPage County. So that I'm thrilled about. I'm glad to hear about this program because, I mean, sitting on the transformational committee through the DuPage Foundation with both Chair Shorzy and Mary, we see how this works. People come in with their big ideas and we're able to see what's going to work, what's not going to work. And I think that's how this is going to work on this level also. I'm very excited about the Farm to Pantry initiative. I know we've got the Conservation Foundation people here in the audience. If you saw the first picture that we were carrying tomatoes, the tomatoes they grow are fantastic. They are cheered about, and it's something that I think that does go to every single part of every single county. I mean, it's up in Elmhurst, Yorkfield. It's over. We take it to all different places, and I know that they would like to expand, and so this will help them to expand what they're doing there. So I think this has got a lot of great ideas that need discussing, and I'm very thankful for the work that's been put into the project. But I do think that we have discussed the $2.5 million, and I know that needs to come to a vote to be finalized. But there has been discussion on that. I just wanted to be clear on that. I do appreciate your passion, Chair Shorzy. Thank you.
I got everyone. So I got Member Evans next, and then Member Martinez, and Member Hayter, and then we'll go back to the second round for other questions. So, and I got you, Member LaPlante and Member Krajewski. So, Member Evans.
Thank you, Chair Shorzy. I just want to say that I don't want this discussion to be taken as that we want to turn our backs on our residents. That's not what any of this frustration is.
That's not what I.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's kind of the direction it's been going, and that's not what it is at all. You know, any kind of frustration that I'm feeling is that I feel like we've been left out of the conversation. I feel like I just walked in halfway through a movie and I'm looking around asking, what happened? Why is this happening? At the time when Loaves and Fishes approached the chair or you with this really great idea, that's the time when we probably should have come up with this DuPage Food Pantry Challenge. They would have easily qualified for it. There should have been a discussion though, because at this point now, you know, we did get the thank you. We're like, wait, what are you thanking us for? I didn't say yes. I don't have the details yet. And they are going to get us the details, but it's hard. We gave consensus without any kind of details. And so that's where the frustration is coming from. There's a lack of transparency. And if you just want to engage more, that is gonna go, it's gonna help us all go a lot further at the same time. So it's an $8 million project, and Loaves and Fishes got a $5 million grant from Endeavor. And I don't know if any of that's going towards this. And I think they got another, I think they've been getting other grants. Are they exceeding their goal at this point?
No, they're not exceeding their goal. So Loaves and Fishes, I'm not sure how some people don't remember, did a very large presentation on June 24th. So this is not a secret. It was in my budget.
On June 24th?
No. Yeah. Yes, I can give you the presentation they gave if you don't remember. They did a very large presentation. Mm-hmm. We got consensus, like we do with many things, to move forward with this initiative. So we did the work. Endeavor came in after they saw that I had put 2.5 in my budget, which the budget was approved, right. And they came up with $5 million. Which is, they're still not 100% there. They're still, I think it's 8 million total. So they're like 500,000 short. So I don't quite understand, like we do a lot of these things this way. We do consensus. It was in my budget. It wasn't hidden anywhere. You guys were aware of it. It is a priority of mine. And I thought this board, this is an opportunity for us to actually transform the way we deliver food to people within food insecurity. At this time, right now in our country with what's going on, we haven't even seen the fallout yet from SNAP. So the amount of people that we are helping is going to double because people who are in SNAP do not go to food pantries. And in May, that's going to drastically change. So, you know, while we are in a position in DuPage County, because we do have resources, we are funded on sales tax, we are very good at the way we budget, very good. That's why we have 3 AAA bond ratings, including the 3rd that came in after many of you and myself came to the board. That gives us what I believe a huge responsibility to make sure that we are doing this the best way we can to serve our community. Now, I feel like there's some sort of undertone here, like somebody feels like they've been blindsided or there's some sort of Robert's rules issue here. That's not the case. We did this the same way we do everything else. You were presented with this. People were very excited about it back in June. Maybe everybody needs to rewatch the meeting. Then it was in my budget, which you all supported. So I'm not trying to hide it from you. I'm not trying to do this on my own.
I don't think
That's
anybody ever said that.
not what's going on. So I guess I understand Greg's frustration with this, because this is a tremendous transformation of the way we're able to do that. We're able to help with that. Endeavor's doing way more than money-wise than we are. Would I love for Will County and Kane County to be as in a position like we are? They do give funds, as you've all seen, the funds that they do give. They are not in a position to do something like that. We are. So I guess it's going to be up to you guys how important it is to make sure that we're delivering food to the folks who need it the most, who I consider our most vulnerable population throughout our entire county. Are there ways, hopefully, as this continues on and grows and this project works out, that we can work on areas where they're only open once a week, 2 hours a day? That's part of the goal. That's part of the transformation. People deserve to get food where they live. And this would be the hub. The spokes will go out, and we're offering. So like if Carrie, your food pantry is open 2 hours a week, once a week, with $500,000, I bet they could transform that and they could be open a lot more. So I certainly think that money could help your community and your district to deliver more food to your community. So think about it that way. I don't quite understand, you know, $500,000 is going to build a building, but it'll build out a building and it'll allow more people to be there to help. So this feels, there's a lot of undertone going on here, which
Yeah,
I
I feel like I'm being misunderstood here, though.
No, it's not. No, Lucy, this is not personal to you. It's what I've been hearing throughout the entire meeting, which is, you know, people saying this, we didn't know about this, we were blindsided. That's just not the case. My office is always open. You can call me anytime if you have issues with anything. You know, some of you guys told me before I got here that you'd never been in that office. That's not the way we do this. We do this together. And I very much appreciate the pushback. Because of the pushback, because of those conversations, we have this tremendous grant program. This is not haves and have-nots. This is a county. This is transformation. So I really hope that we'll end up getting your support. And I'm sorry you feel that, you know, you weren't told enough about it. Brian, I'm happy to sit down and have personal coffee with you to remind you of all of it.
Okay. Yeah, so can I just
Yeah.
finish what I was saying?
Yeah.
I think that especially for us in District 3, we just would love to have more details. I know when we were doing consensus, somebody had said, well, okay, we just gave consensus, but I would like more details. So when we keep having these conversations, now we just added this challenge grant, but I would like to know how District 3 is going to be impacted by loaves and fishes. So, and I think they're working on that, but
absolutely,
I really
they're
feel
working
like
on it.
Keep going forward, we still need more details.
They're absolutely working on it. And I would say to you, Lucy, who has been transformational in the Willowbrook Corners or Hinsdale Lake Terrace, which only affects a very small group of people. I went to bat for that because it was that important to our entire county of DuPage to help those people. With your vision, go to your food pantry and say, hey, we've got this grant. Let's face this challenge. Let's grow our food pantry. And we will support that.
Okay, thank you. I would think this minimum $500,000 might be problematic, but we can work on that too. So thank you.
Absolutely. You tell me they can't expand what they're doing with $500,000?
No,
when
I
they're
think the
only
high bar.
open once a week for 2 hours? I bet they could.
Chair, we're going to go to Member Martinez and then Member.
Thank you very much. So I have a couple of questions. I wasn't here in June, so some of this is new to me. But I think all of us do want to help. You know, that's the consensus here that all of us want to help our community in DuPage County. Would it be possible to help humanize these numbers? Because we see dollars, we see locations, but can we see how many people are impacted by location, if possible, to then help identify the areas of need, the impact that it is happening within DuPage, and so then it's like a very clear picture of how this money is going to affect the county. Sorry, I have a few more things.
Just to answer that,
yeah.
we have seen numbers, and I'm sure in my briefcase I have some of that information.
Yeah.
But
if it
maybe
could just be like
Chris-
next to this sheet,
yeah,
that would be perfect.
so you can have it there. Yeah.
My other thing, I have, let's see. So along the lines of, you know, we see that more and more people are needing food. I would also eventually like to look into what is the cause of that, what are the sources of that, and what can we do to help also look to suppress that. So yes, we need to help anytime that becomes an issue, but how can we try to avoid the issue to begin with? That's my number two. The fresh food that we provide, awesome, wonderful. You know, we've all grown up, maybe not all of us, knowing that food pantries have, you know, dry goods, anything that's gonna have long expirations. And fresh food, the reason that it was never around was because of the very short lifespan that it has. So one, now that we have introduced that program, is there any waste? And how can we try to avoid that waste? And then my fourth thing, the grant program, I'm going to connect the two right now. So the $500,000 also seems kind of big, especially for the smaller pantries. But I think a lot of these smaller if we were to just maybe separate that into different categories where you have the 500,000 threshold for the larger pantries and you have a lower threshold for the smaller pantries. I think one of the things that is very expensive but would be very useful is allowing them to buy refrigeration with the filtration systems that allow for longer lifespan of vegetables and fruits, kind of like, you know, a Sub-Zero refrigerator, which is very, very expensive, more than a $500, you know, fridge at Menards, but it's in the thousands and thousands of dollars. But it doesn't go up to $500,000. So again, I said a lot, but I think all of this would help kind of just make it even stronger.
Thank you, Member Martinez. I do want to just mention on the lowering potential grants. 2 or 3 years ago, we did have a pantry infrastructure grant program where we bought refrigerator freezers. I don't know if they were the ones that you're talking about, which help the lifespan of produce, but we bought refrigerator trucks, we bought delivery vans. So the smaller pantries, everybody was able to put in for that, and I think we gave everybody everything they asked for. I don't think we had enough money to give everybody they asked for. So you weren't here to realize that, but those were ways that we could help some of those smaller food pantries for sure. So.
Well, yeah, and just really briefly, if there's a food pantry somewhere that has a lower amount, but it's going to really make a difference, please bring it to my attention. I mean, this is not, you know, we can always adjust this. That's not an issue. And one of the issues with why this is so important is SNAP. So that's something, you know, like while we want to figure out why are people food insecure, we also have a fact that's driving us to understanding it's going to increase. And how are we going to deal with that?
I just wanted to address your question about waste. So Northern Illinois Food Bank reported that their food waste is somewhere in the, I would have to go back and double check, but I think it's in the 7 to 10%, which is completely within sort of industry standards. And, you know, when grocery stores get deliveries, you know, there's going to be waste of produce that's maybe damaged in the course of delivery. And so they experience basically whatever the industry standard is for food waste for fresh food. But one of the ways that they try to minimize it out at the pantry level is that when they deliver produce to the pantries, they make sure that the delivery comes either the day before or the day that the pantry is open. So the last thing you want to do is deliver, produce on a Thursday to a pantry that's only open on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And so their delivery schedule for getting the produce out to the pantries takes into account the days of the week and hours that the pantries are open.
One last thing to Member Martinez's comments. So there's certainly a lot of reasons that have caused food insecurity. I mean, since I've been very consciously aware of it was COVID, people losing their jobs and so forth. The cost of living, the prices of things have gone up even post COVID. I mean, you can't buy a box of Cheerios for under $8 anymore, and so there's that. But the recent administration also cut a half a billion dollars to the farm to table program, and also cut a $500 million, that's like $600,000 for the school lunch program. So there's all these different reasons. Some of them we can help, some of them we can't, but our job is to do what we can to help the people of DuPage County. So Member Header.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, as well. This discussion has been going on for months. And during those discussions, there were two things that stood out. One, that we didn't have information as to how the different communities, different pantries were getting supported by the DuPage County. So this list is super helpful because then it answers that question that has been persistent. So thank you for the staff for providing this and answering that question. And the second thing was, well, it's the money is going to Loaves and Fishes, and it's kind of located in one corner of the county. And maybe it's not equitable. And so the challenge grant is a solution to that concern as well. So the two main concerns were really, one, how can we make sure that the resources are more equitable? And how do we make sure we quantify and know how our communities are being affected? So kudos to the staff for answering both of those big questions that the board has been having for the last several months. So I will say that first. And affordability is the biggest concern right now among people statewide, nationwide. So what we are trying to do here is really making sure we take care of a problem that is affecting all of us. If the families are able to get some assistance with their food, maybe they're able to afford childcare. Maybe they're able to, go get that job because they can now afford childcare. So it creates a positive cycle in making people more resilient, making people more independent. So I'm really excited about that. Why support Loaves and Fishes is because for those of you who possibly may not have seen it, I highly encourage you to go and look at the location. Their infrastructure allows for them to have unique qualities like negotiate with food suppliers and get the cost of food price low. They have the infrastructure, they have large scale refrigeration that allows for them to store food that other pantries are not able to store in their locations, which helps to make sure that they can support other pantries, smaller pantries as well. So our investment of $2.5 million is not only just helping Loaves and Fishes, but it's also helping other pantries that are often not able to buy food at a cheaper price or are not able to store that food for a longer period of time because they just don't have that kind of large scale refrigeration capacity. Loaves and Fishes also gives the option of ordering food online. People don't have to go through and sometimes feel the stigma of having to. One of the people on this presentation is a dear friend of mine. Her picture is on the flyer. And to be able to not have to walk through those aisles and just be able to order online and just pick up the food in my car and just open the trunk and get the food, I think that adds a lot of dignity and respect to the whole process. And I think that's why it's also important for us to support Loaves and Fishes. I know many members on this board supported the Conservation Foundation. I know, Chair Schwarze, you gave money from your member initiative program, member Paula Deacon Garcia. I gave money from my member initiative program to the Conservation Foundation because their farm to table and their collaboration with Loaves and Fishes is just really an incredible program. And it allows for a possibility for them to collaborate beyond Loaves and Fishes and throughout DuPage County. And the challenge grant is helping other pantries build capacity, much like Loaves and Fishes. I think it's a win-win for all of us. So I want to congratulate all of you for all your hard work in solving two of the biggest problems that people had during those discussions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just really quickly, I think it's really important from what Sabah was just saying that we understand, or you guys understand. I can't tell you how many hours of work has gone into this. I mean, staff has done tremendous amounts of work, and Mike Havala also. Like when we thought that SNAP was being cut completely, we spent hours and hours working on how are we going to respond to that. Even if it doesn't happen and they change it, and they did, we need to be ready. So the amount of time that has gone into this, and every question that you guys have all asked and will continue to ask, we will make sure that they get answered. One of the interesting benefits that Loaves and Fishes is going to be able to do that they can't do now with the expansion is that we have many areas of our county that eat specific types of food. They will be able to do that. So you will be able to, from a small pantry and wherever you are, say, you know, my community really, they value this type of food, and you'll be able to get it.
Member Tornatore, you haven't spoken yet. Do you have any comments before I start giving people? Well, he's already spoken.
Here, I'm just here as an interested observer, so I'm going to follow up.
All right, so we'll you know, just let's try to keep the second round of comments to maybe a minute or 2 minutes, because for sake of time, because we are going to bring this back next week, and you know, we'll probably have a lot of the same questions. So I think Member LaPlante had her hand up, and then Member Krajewski, and then Member.
Sure. So can you please help our partners in our communities who are interested in receiving more funding? I understand we have this new program that you are rolling out, but is it worth going back and looking at the process in which Loaves and Fishes was, you know, given or told that they would get $2.5 million, meaning in my district, People's Resource Center was very specific in saying, we wish we had known that there was an opportunity for that kind of funding, right? So they were not included in that process. So is there a way that you can address that?
I think Member Faye, I remember. I think the executive director of People's Resources, but yeah, Jennifer is in the audience, and she and I have been emailing back and forth. I did invite her to this event today, so informed, and if she has any questions, she can reach out to any of us anytime. So thank you.
Sure.
Member Krajewski.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, you know, nothing has changed in 5 or 6 years from the food pantries, and what I know Member Galassi hears from our District 3 ones is the same issues. It predates you, Chair Conroy. When we brought up the food insecurity and we put a bunch of money in there after the DuPage Foundation didn't fund Northern Illinois Food Bank. But the second aspect was the infrastructure. And we're sitting here 4 years later with the same issues. Nothing has been done. I remember the presentation from Loaves and Fishes, great concept. It was phenomenal what they're doing, but you remember Swargy talk about infrastructure, it's going to be here forever. I mean, the complaints from the food pantries in District 3, and I'm sure it's up in District 1 and 6, is just 45 minutes back and forth to Loaves and Fishes. Long term, if should have done this 4 years ago, but if you had a Loaves and Fishes and you moved it right here in the middle of DuPage County, where it's in the middle and people from District 3, 1 can all come down there, that's what we should have been looking at 4 years ago, and building an infrastructure in, say, Wheaton, where it's closer to all the districts where those food pantries can make those. So if we're looking at long-term investments, that's, you know, but the Loaves and Fishes concept is great. And you talk about it's going to help people. If we put something in the middle and we're helping everybody in DuPage, it'll be more than down there. So I'd love to see a concept, because the biggest issue was when we gave the money to Northern Illinois Food Bank 4+ years ago, they were buying fresh produce at 40% discounts, but it was being shipped to their facility, and then it would be shipped down to DuPage. And cutting that keep the freshness, cutting the time down and having it directly shipped to DuPage, which I assume is going to happen at Loaves and Fishes, which would be good. It's getting closer, but even having it more centrally located. So, and maybe there's a second hub that's looked at long term, but more centrally located so the District 3s and District 1s can come down there. I'd like to see us look into that kind of infrastructure. Once Loaves and Fishes came, we had specific questions, and mine were the 40%. The other issue, last one, is I don't know if we've talked to them about how much they're going to put in. They're sitting on $3 million of cash and $7 million sitting in investments. So they have 10 million right now of their own money. And I don't know how much of that's coming in and how much is being challenged. But I always like when we do partnerships, when we always get people coming to the county, and I always push back to the municipalities. Well, why don't you guys join too? Hence Will and Kane. And I don't know if, Chair, you've had conversations with the chairs, not the staff to staff, and if they truly don't want to fund it, then
They truly don't have the money.
No.
Is the truth.
Well, no, they have the money. It's just what they want to spend it on. No, everybody's got money, right? I'm going to spend it on food insecurity, or I'm going to build a road, or I'm going to spend it over here. I'm going to hire 10 more people in office.
Possibly Will County to some degree, but I mean, Kane County's bank fired them, so I don't think Kane would be.
No, I'm just asking you. Sounds like you had conversation.
But yes, but the hub is a great idea. Just like a crisis recovery center, we're hoping we can grow those things so that we can expand it throughout the county. We do have Mike Cavala on the line, so he can actually answer that question that you were talking about in terms of what, Mike, I think, do you want to repeat the question about investment?
I just noticed in their most recent filing, they had $3 million of cash in the bank and 6.7 million of investments in, public trade stocks, whatever. So they got 10 million there. I know a lot of times these not-for-profits, and it's not unique. People's Resource Center has a bunch of cash too. They keep a lot of money in there, and then they go raise a bunch, and they get people to give a bunch, but they never release a lot of the money that they have. So I don't know if their strategic plan is to take 4, 5, 6 million out of those investments and put it into the hub, or they're asking us to put it into the hub. Again, I don't know.
Okay, we can answer that question. And in terms of
right now, I just a question.
Well, in terms of People's Resource Center, we've given them $700,000. And if People's Resource Center had come to us and told us they could expand like they're going to do, the honest to God truth is Loaves and Fishes is the only one in the position to do what they can do, and they already have the property.
And I don't know, because I don't sit on Health and Human Services. I just remember several years ago, People's Resource Center coming here, talking about acquiring a building next door in Wheaton and another building next door. Again, and if they've done that, then they maybe have the infrastructure here located, and maybe we should be looking at that as well, instead of challenge grants here and there. I think for a long-term investment, we should be looking at building a hub. Because I had conversations with Nick, I think even before you got here, Chair, about semi trucks and getting the stuff more centrally here. So the smaller food pantries can then come, and we gave them trucks. It was a great program you guys put in, where they have these little trucks now with refrigerated ones where they could drive, 10 or 15 minutes to grab stuff, but to drive from District 3 to 45 minutes, Loaves and Fishes. Again, it's just something long-term we should look at, because that seems to be the big problem, is how the ones from the surrounding areas don't have to travel as far and get it to them. Again, Loaves and Fishes is a great concept. If it was centrally located, I think it would help more people.
I think that's a great idea. And that's the whole goal, is to get like People's Resource Center, everybody to start working together in the same direction. And if they have the ability to maybe have a truck there, whatever, I mean, these are all great ideas. But first we gotta build it, and we're gonna work on it. Like the CRC, you can ask Sam, constantly evolving, constantly changing, constantly saving people's lives. And I believe this will save people's lives too.
Okay, member you.
Thank you. I just have to go to technology really quickly. So I just wanted to note, okay, so the best models are evidence-based. So if Loaves and Fishes is using an evidence-based model, and that's the hub and spoke model, then that's great. So this challenge grant, I'm a big proponent of it, because that means that we can do something on the east side of DuPage. And maybe it's People's Resource Center, maybe it's Elmhurst Yorkfield Food Pantry, because they just recently bought a new warehouse because they need to also increase capacity. And if People's Resource Center and Elmhurst Yorkfield Food Pantry could maybe potentially work together on this challenge grant, and then that would help all the other smaller food pantries, because it would increase capacity. And that is one of the main issues of why a food pantry is only open 1 or 2 days a week. It's because they don't have capacity within their site. So this challenge grant is the opportunity for us to get a hub and spoke model on the east side of DuPage. So I'm excited about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Yu. I had one more member asking to speak, and that's Member Galassi.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chair, for being here. I just do want to say, I apologize. I hadn't personally reached out. I did, maybe I should have, I just was looking back at our phones. January 14th, I texted Member Schwarzy. I asked him to have a phone call with the pantries in District 3. In all fairness, you kind of gave me the stiff arm on that. So I probably should have just said, let's talk to Chair Conroy at that point. But I did bring this to Chair Schwarzy's attention
At the time. That's.
But I did ask for a phone call with our District 3 pantries. And I also just want to say that, of course, this is, you said, I know out of probably frustration, but earlier in the meeting, you said, I don't know if this is because we don't want to help people or because we feel like the timeline was off. Of course, it's not because we don't want to help people. I think where my frustration came in, and I'm only echoing what the food pantries in District 3 relayed to me, was during one of the presentations from Loaves and Fishes, it was stated that this new build of infrastructure would benefit everyone in DuPage County and all districts. So I took that information and went to our 3 food pantries in District 3 and asked that very question. They were all frustrated by that line of communication. They said that is not the case. It's too far from us. We won't directly benefit from this build. I'm just relaying the information. So that is, I think, where my frustration came. And that's when I reached out to you and said, can we please have a conversation? So I apologize for not reaching out to you directly. I was trying to get my questions answered. I was trying to be open and transparent about where my frustration was coming from. And that still is the case. I do appreciate the new grant that you're proposing to try to help District 3. I do feel it is my responsibility in being elected in District 3 to try to best represent our area. And, this was also, I fully support the CRC. I love what it's doing, but this was the same feedback we got from the managers and mayors of District 3 about the CRC. And then when the presentation was here recently, their concerns did seem to be playing out a bit that, who's being served, District 3 seemed to be on the lower end of that. So I just want to make sure that the assets that we're building and spending these large capital monies on are benefiting the district that I've been elected to represent. And the feedback that I've gotten from the 3 food pantries is that wouldn't necessarily be the case. Now that we have more information, I'd like to re-engage again. I know Jenny is here from PRC. I'd like to re-engage with these conversations. She did mention that, some of the other larger food pantries do also have the online ordering that I know is very important for the dignity of the people that need this help. So I totally appreciate that. But it's not just Loaves and Fishes that offers that. So I just wanted to make that point. And to Member Krajewski's point, I think, you've just asked, like, where's the frustration coming from? I think it is for me. And after the conversations I had with our food pantries, it is the location. And it just that, I do wish this was more centrally located. And, I would just like to say that thank you for bringing the small grant here, but that I just wanted to explain where my frustration came from. And I did try to engage with you, and that was kind of declined. So I'm just trying to be a voice for District 3 at this point. So I'd like to re-engage with them and, talk to them about some of these solutions and see where their concerns are at this point.
Fair enough. Thank you. Thank you. Any final comments?
Just to say, Carrie, and you have been such a great advocate for your district, as has Lucy and Brian. I mean, you guys have done great things there. You really have. And I think we have an opportunity, like Ina kind of alluded to work with People's Resource Center, perhaps Yorkville Pantry, and create something together that would almost be like a hub. We have enough money to do it. So let's work together and make that happen. 2 things can be true at one time. Okay. So we have to do this to transform the way that we deliver food. It's the beginning. It's not the end. It's the start of the story, and that there'll be many more chapters. And the fact that our board is so engaged and committed to their districts, I feel confident that we'll make sure everybody gets what they need. I really do.
Yeah, I just, going back to when we thought SNAP was going to be, cut significantly. And we talked about, emergency food and how are we going to have a quick response. When that didn't happen, what we did was we said, you know what, after the first of the year, we're going to sit down and we're going to come up with a plan, with a multi-year plan of how are we going to spend this food insecurity money. What we came up with, what we presented today was, basically the outline of that plan. What's the thoughtful approach over the next 2 years? And absolutely, the challenge grant is a direct response to the feedback from the board of what about opportunities for other organizations who want to do something big. So the plan that we've laid out today is really a response to what's a thoughtful way that we can make sure we've incorporated the concerns. The produce, continuing the produce is going to help every single small pantry with their capacity. The challenge grant helps organizations who have big ideas, who can do something transformational. We're letting them know our doors are open. We want to hear those proposals. And so I'm really appreciative of the level of engagement of all of the board members. I think we've come up with a pretty darn good plan. Absolutely, it's just a plan at this point. Loaves and Fishes still has to go to an agreement. Any of these have to, we have to really put the kind of the meat on the bones of what are we looking for in terms of the grants. I think the produce is just a continuation, so I'm hoping we can get that started quickly if the board gives us the thumbs up maybe next week. So I just want to thank the board for their level of engagement. I think we're coming up with some really good solutions here.
So Mary brought up a great point. I was the one who actually met with Conservation Foundation for the farm to pantry or farm to table. They do need to move fairly quickly because it's growing season. And I will tell you with this, they're very excited because it's a very well received program. And this will expand it to additional food pantries throughout the county in every district. So I will say we need to move fairly quickly on that one because of the growing season. Now, I mean, obviously they can build it, but there's only a short window to plant it. So if the board would like to move forward, then we've got to move forward fairly quickly on that one. I mean, if we don't, then it's just going to be moved back at growing season. That's up to the board.
We can talk more about that at our next meeting, right, Nick? So first of all, thank you. And oh, Dawn. Yes, Dawn, remember to start. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say for those who feel friction or challenges or some pushback, I just wanted to say that Chair Schwarzy, I know your heart is in the right place, and all of my board members, I know all of our hearts are in the right place. So it's just getting through this, but I appreciate all of the work that you, Chair Schwarzy, and our whole staff has done on this because, as I said, there might need to be some tweaks, but our hearts are in the right place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And a lot of the kudos goes to our full-time staff, Mary Keating, Joan, and finance and everything. So last thing I want to say, first of all, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the questions. My sincere apologies if I offended anybody. I was getting a little frustrated there, and I try not to do that too often. But I do want to say this. If I left this board, I've been on the board a little over 5 years. If I left this board tomorrow and never came back and I got this enacted, boy, I would have something very proud to hang my hat on, to say I helped these people. I helped expand a food pantry to help feed people for the rest of, I'll be long gone and that place will still be helping people. You guys have the opportunity to hang your hat on this. So I'll leave it at that and we'll see you next week to talk about it some more. Thank you. Motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Thank you.